On the edge of the galaxy, the aliens of the High Council gathered to watch Earth's latest creation, a small human prototype designed to test their theories of human evolution. They whispered among themselves, laughing softly, calling him weak, primitive, and useless. "Look at him," one alien sneered. "He cannot even lift that tool properly." The prototype, named Kale, looked small among the towering aliens. His body was ordinary, his movements awkward, and his eyes wide with fear. Yet inside him, a quiet spark of determination burned. He knew he was different, even if no one else could see it. As the aliens continued their mockery, a young observer named Leora, a low-ranking alien, tilted her head, curious. "Why does he not run? Why does he not fight?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the laughter. The elders ignored her, dismissing her questions as the foolishness of youth. Kale struggled to hold a strange alien device in his hands, its weight much heavier than he expected. The aliens laughed louder, pointing at his clumsy movements. "Pathetic," one said. "Earth sends this as their best. Such weakness is amusing." Kale felt his cheeks burn with embarrassment, but he did not drop the device. Instead, he adjusted his grip, determined not to fail. The queen of the aliens, tall and regal with eyes like burning stars, stepped forward, her voice cold and sharp. "So this is Earth's pride," she said, "a mere child, pretending to be more than he is." She laughed, a sound that echoed through the hall, causing Kale's heart to pound. Yet beneath her laughter, there was curiosity, a slight tilt of her head that he did not notice. Kale's mind raced. He remembered the lessons of his home world, how humans survived against impossible odds with courage and cunning. He whispered to himself, "They do not know what I can do." He tried to focus, to learn from the alien device in his hands, slowly, methodically, ignoring the mocking voices. The aliens began a demonstration, expecting Kale to fail miserably. They placed a simple alien puzzle in front of him, thinking he could not solve it. Leora watched him closely, intrigued by his focus. She had never seen a human prototype show such calm in the face of ridicule. Kale studied the puzzle, turning each piece with care. The aliens whispered among themselves, already preparing their jokes for the next failure. But Kale's fingers moved faster than anyone expected, fitting piece after piece, a small smile forming on his lips. The aliens gasped, their laughter faltering as he completed the puzzle perfectly. The queen's eyes narrowed. "Interesting," she murmured, almost to herself. "Perhaps he is not as simple as he seems." Kale felt a strange thrill, a mixture of fear and pride. He knew this was only the beginning, that the aliens would continue to test him, to mock him, and perhaps even try to destroy him. As the crowd dispersed, Kale remained, staring at the device in his hands. He could hear the whispers, the cautious tones replacing the laughter. Even the queen seemed thoughtful, as if questioning everything she had believed about humans. Kale clenched his fists, feeling a new sense of purpose. He was a prototype, yes, but he would not remain a mockery. He would become something more, something the aliens had never expected. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice told him that the galaxy had yet to see the strength of a human. A storm was coming, and Kale would be ready. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The human, Kale, who was once mocked as weak and clumsy, had solved the alien puzzle without hesitation. Even the queen, tall and regal, could not hide her curiosity. She studied him from afar, her eyes sharp and calculating, wondering what this small human could truly achieve. Days passed, and Kale trained under the watchful eyes of the aliens. Every day brought a new test, a new device, or a strange alien challenge. The aliens laughed at first, expecting him to fail again. But Kale learned quickly, his mind sharp and his determination stronger than anyone imagined. Leora, the young observer, began to notice him in a different light. Her curiosity turned into quiet admiration, though she would never admit it aloud. Then came the announcement that shocked the entire council. The alien queen declared that Kale, the human prototype, would marry her, not out of love, but to create a fragile peace between Earth and her empire. The room fell silent, whispers spreading like wildfire. "That Queen Mary's a human," one alien hissed. "What folly is this?" another murmured. The elders shook their heads in disbelief, but no one dared challenge the queen. Kale's heart raced. He had expected more tests, more mockery, but not this. "Marry her," he whispered to himself. "Why would she choose me?" The queen's gaze was firm, unyielding. "You are strong, Kale," she she said, her voice soft but commanding, stronger than any of them believe. "You'll be the bridge between our worlds." Kale nodded slowly, unsure if he was ready for this responsibility. The preparation for the alliance was tense. Kale met the Queen's advisors and distant relatives, all of whom sneered at him. Their words were sharp, calling him a fool, a weakling, and a pawn. But Kale kept his head high, remembering the puzzle, the first victory that had proven even the smallest human could surprise the galaxy. Leora often observed him during these days. She saw his quiet courage, the way he listened, learned, and adapted. She began to believe that perhaps humans were not as weak as the elders claimed. One evening, as Kale struggled with a strange alien device meant for communication, Leora approached him quietly. "You're not like them," she whispered. "You are different." Kale looked up, surprised, but nodded, feeling a strange connection to this alien who believed in him. The day of the alliance arrived. The hall was filled with the galaxy's greatest minds and warriors. Kale walked beside the Queen, his heart pounding. Every eye in the room followed him, some mocking, some curious, and some afraid. The Queen's expression was unreadable, but Kale felt her respect, a subtle acknowledgement of his potential. Just as the ceremony was about to begin, alarms blared throughout the hall. A distant fleet of rogue aliens had attacked the border planets, threatening the fragile peace. Panic spread, but the Queen's eyes met Kale's, and in that moment, he understood. This was no longer a simple alliance. This was a test of his courage, a chance to prove that humans could rise above mockery and fear. Kale clenched his fists, feeling a surge of determination. The galaxy laughed at him once, but that laughter would not last. He was no longer just a prototype, no longer a toy for the aliens to mock. He was a human, and humans survived. Humans fought, and humans could become legends. As the hall emptied into chaos, Kale followed the Queen, ready to face the coming war. Deep down, he knew the peace they had forged was fragile, and the battles ahead would test every skill, every ounce of courage he possessed. And somewhere in the shadows, eyes watched him carefully, knowing that the human who was once mocked might just change the fate of the galaxy. The galaxy watched silently as Kale began to settle into his new role. The humans and aliens around him still doubted his strength, but Kale knew that true power did not come from size or weapons. It came from knowledge, courage, and heart. Every day, Kale studied the alien technology, the ships, and the strange devices he once struggled with. He learned faster than anyone expected. His mind worked like a storm, analyzing, adapting, and improving. Even Leora, who had watched him quietly, could not hide her amazement. "How does he learn so quickly?" she whispered to herself. Late one night, Kale discovered a hidden chamber under the Queen's palace. The walls were covered in alien symbols and glowing energy. In the center, a device pulsed with light, strange and powerful. Kale approached, cautiously, feeling the energy hum beneath his hands. As he touched it, knowledge and visions filled his mind, showing him strategies, powers, and techniques no human had ever imagined. Kale realized this was the secret of the aliens' power, the very technology that allowed them to conquer planets and bend others to their will. But he also realized something more. This device responded to his thoughts, to his will, as if it recognized his courage and determination. He smiled, knowing that no one had expected a human to unlock it. Meanwhile, the galaxy grew tense. Rumors of war reached the Queen's court. Rogue alien factions were gathering, refusing the fragile peace. They mocked the human prototype, planning to destroy him. First, to shake the Queen's power. But Kale was ready. He had learned their strengths, their weaknesses, and most importantly, how to use the tools the aliens thought he could never handle. Kale trained day and night, combining human instinct with alien technology. His body became stronger, his reflexes faster, but it was his mind that became his greatest weapon. He could predict enemy moves before they happened, solve problems in seconds, and turn any disadvantage into a victory. Leora watched him train, sometimes from the shadows. Amazed at the transformation, the Queen began to see Kale differently. What was once a weak, laughable human now carried an aura of strength and respect. Her advisors began whispering, "He is no mere human. He may be the key to winning the coming war." Even the most skeptical aliens started paying attention, wary of underestimating him again. One night, as Kale trained in the empty courtyard, a shadow approached. A rogue alien scout tried to attack him, thinking he could still overpower the human. Kale moved swiftly, using both human agility and the alien knowledge he had learned. In seconds, the scout was disarmed and unconscious. The humans watching from the hidden chambers gasped. The truth, Kale was no longer just a prototype. It was something more, something no one had predicted. But Kale knew this was only the beginning. Greater threats were coming. Forces beyond the Queen's empire were moving, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and when they came, Kale would need all his strength, courage, and cunning to survive. The galaxy had mocked him once, but soon, they would learn that even a human prototype could become a force no alien could ignore. As Kale stood in the moonlight, looking at the stars above, he whispered to himself, "I am ready. I will not be mocked again." Deep in the shadows, eyes watched him, curious and fearful, knowing that the small human they once laughed at had awakened a power no one could control. The first warning came like a storm. Alien ships appeared at the edges of the Empire, dark and massive. Their engines glowed red in the black of space, a warning that no one could ignore. The Queen's Council panicked, sending messages to every outpost, but the attackers were fast, skilled, and merciless. Kale stood on the balcony of the Queen's palace, watching the approaching fleet. His heart pounded, but his mind was sharp. He had trained for this moment. Every test, every challenge had prepared him. The aliens who once mocked him now looked to him with hope and fear, knowing that if Kale failed, the Empire might fall. The first battle erupted on the planet's surface. Explosions shook the ground, lasers cut through the sky, and alien warriors clashed with deadly precision. Kale moved among them like a shadow, his strategy flawless. He anticipated every attack, guided his allies, and used the alien technology he had mastered to turn the tide. At first, the rogue aliens laughed, thinking the humans and loyal allies were easy prey. But Kale had learned their weaknesses. Every move they made was countered. Every strategy they tried was blocked. His human instincts combined with alien knowledge made him unpredictable, a weapon no enemy could foresee. The Queen watched from her command tower, her eyes wide with astonishment. "He fights like no human I have ever seen," she whispered. "Stronger than any warrior in our history." Even Leora, standing nearby, could not hide her amazement. She had believed in him before, but now she saw the truth. Kale was extraordinary. Kale's presence inspired the humans, boosting their courage. They fought with determination. Believing in the human who had once been mocked, they followed him through the chaos. Trusting his instincts and plans, the battlefield became a symphony of strategy and skill, and Kale led every movement, every strike, with unmatched precision. But the war was not easy. The rogue aliens were relentless, sending massive war machines, some larger than entire cities. Kale faced them without fear, using his mind and reflexes to outmaneuver their attacks. Each victory was hard fought, but every small success fueled his determination, reminding him that humans were not weak. In the middle of the battlefield, Kale confronted the rogue general, a towering alien whose strength was legendary. The two clashed, their powers shaking the ground beneath them. The alien sneered, "You are nothing, human." But Kale smiled, calm and confident. "I am more than you think," he said, and with one swift move, he disarmed the general, sending shockwaves through the enemy lines. The tide of the war began to turn. Aliens who had doubted the human prototype now whispered his name in fear and respect. Kale was no longer mocked. He was a force, a symbol of what humans could achieve. The Queen watched silently, knowing that this battle would be remembered for centuries. As the sun set on the burning battlefield, Kale stood tall, his body tired but his spirit unbroken. He knew the war was far from over, but the first victory was his. The galaxy had underestimated him once, but never again, and somewhere deep in the shadows, new enemies watched, realizing that the human they had mocked had become a god among warriors. The battlefield was quiet now, but the war was far from over. Kale stood among the ruins, his armor scratched, his body tired, yet his eyes burned with determination. The humans and loyal aliens looked to him for guidance, knowing that the next battle would decide the fate of the galaxy. The rogue forces had retreated, but Kale knew they would return, stronger and more ruthless. The Queen approached him, her expression a mix of respect and awe. "You have done what no one expected, Kale," she said. "You have shown the strength of your kind." Kale bowed slightly, humbled yet proud. He had fought not for glory, but for survival. and for the future of his people. But peace was still fragile. The rogue generals were gathering their forces, planning one final attack to crush Earth and her allies. Kale knew he could not wait for them to strike. He had to take the fight to them, to end the threat before it grew unstoppable. Kale led a small strike team across the stars, using the alien technology he had mastered. Their ships moved like shadows, avoiding detection, striking swiftly at enemy supply lines and outposts. Every mission was precise, every victory carefully planned. His leadership inspired his allies, making them fight with courage they did not know they had. Finally, Kale confronted the leader of the rogue aliens, a massive being who had commanded countless victories and crushed entire planets. The two faced each other on the bridge of the enemy's flagship. The alien sneered, "You are nothing but a human, weak and foolish." Kale smiled, calm and steady. "I am exactly what you never expected." The battle was fierce, explosions rocking the ship as lasers and energy clashed. Kale used every skill, every strategy he had learned. His moves were precise, almost godlike, anticipating the enemy's attacks before they happened. The rogue leader underestimated him, thinking his small human body could not match alien power. But Kale's mind was his greatest weapon, turning weakness into strength and fear into courage. With a final, clever maneuver, Kale disarmed the leader and forced him to surrender. The rogue army, seeing their greatest warrior defeated by a human, faltered and retreated. Victory belonged to Kale and his allies. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible, a human defeating the most feared alien force in existence. The Queen looked at Kale with newfound respect. "You are no longer a prototype," she said softly. "You are a legend." Kale nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had started as the subject of mockery, laughed at and dismissed by the galaxy. But now, his courage and skill had turned that laughter into awe. Humans across the galaxy celebrated, their spirits lifted by the deeds of one small prototype who became a hero. Kale's story spread from planet to planet, a tale of hope, courage, and the unstoppable will of humanity. Even the aliens who once mocked him could not deny his greatness. They had learned a lesson they would never forget, never underestimate. A human, as the stars shone brightly above. Kale stood with the Queen and Leora by his side, watching the galaxy slowly heal from the war. He knew challenges would come again, but he was ready. He was no longer weak, no longer a prototype. He was a symbol of what humans could achieve, a living proof that even the smallest being could change the course of history. And somewhere, deep in the far reaches of the galaxy, whispers of Kale's legend began to grow. A story that would inspire generations. The human who was mocked, laughed at, and underestimated had become something far greater than anyone imagined. A warrior, a hero, a legend.